We're J&J. He's Justin.
That's Jared.
We are two leashed dads that get together to discuss our everyday lives while chained to our parental responsibilities, such as supporting our children and their choice of activities and or sports. How you doing, man?
How am I doing? I fell asleep today.
It's kind of a loaded question on a Sunday, isn't it?
It is. I took a 2-hour nap. That was kind of like, I wouldn't say the highlight of the day, but
Well, I would call it a highlight of the day.
it felt nice. I was out. I did learn though, my smartwatch decided not to track it, which is weird because I didn't move for 2 hours. I just laid on a couch. But I think overall, my week has been good. I'm okay. Maybe a slight headache right now, but I don't know. It just pressure all on my head, so I'll get rid of it with maybe blowing my nose or some sleep here later on. Sleep is for the weak, even though I just took a 2-hour nap earlier. So does that mean I'm weak? Just a tad. Just a tad.
Nah, it just means you're coming down with something.
Nah, it's been a busy, the lack of sleep is catching up. And I say lack of sleep because Kane had yet another tournament out in Berlin today. So we were up at the crack of dawn. Actually, I was up at 5:30, getting ready, maybe a little earlier than that. Didn't go back to sleep, but ended up just kind of doing that in a sense here, trying to get through some things. Doing that snowstorm, obviously, that came through Wisconsin a bit, got me up early so I could shovel and make sure that I can get the vehicle out of the driveway in the morning if I had to go anywhere. Thankfully the kids... kids last week didn't have school on Monday. They didn't have school on the Friday before. Then all of a sudden they had a snow day on Thursday. Woo! Look at that. A 3-day school day, or 3-day school week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
But, needless to say, all the snow that we did acquire, or accumulate, ended up building snow forts with the kids. And by snow forts, I mean we just kind of dug some tunnels or two holes and made a tunnel out of them.
Isn't that what a snow fort is?
I mean,
it's not like you're going to build a friggin' igloo, you know?
That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to build an igloo. I think it's pretty cool, but it just didn't turn out the way. But then again, also, I didn't want anything caving in on them.
Right.
So I helped him. I helped him out quite a bit. I'm tooting my own horn here, but I'm the one that really connected the tunnels in the long run. But they had fun. They had fun closing in and found out that Dad can fit through some snow tunnels. It was epic. So yeah, and basically I was kind of a man without pants. So during those times it got kind of cold, and I live in Wisconsin, guys, okay? And I don't have snow pants.
I don't either.
Haven't had them for a while. And I don't know if I ever plan on it. I just think sweatpants and regular pants or underneath the sweatpants is fine. Or something just to pad myself out there rather than having to go buy some pants and whatnot. But yeah. So, needless to say, that's how I normally go outside when I take the kids sledding or we go outside and play in the snow for a bit. I'm just probably wearing sweatpants on top of my jeans. And then my boots and hats and gloves. So I'm somewhat prepared to be outside, okay? Just, yeah. Maybe not as long.
For as little as it snows around here these days during winter, I think the adult snow pants have got to be close to $50. I just can't see spending $50+ on a pair of adult snow pants.
No.
When, like you just said, you can double up on PJs, you can double up on whatever, My go-to is long underwear, PJs, and jeans. And the jeans definitely kind of block the most water that I found.
They're absorbing.
They don't soak up as much.
Oh, you must have some special types of jeans. Because I was outside creating this tunnel, and I didn't have it like my snow gear on, so I was just in pants, and needless to say, they were kind of going through pretty quick. The snow was, or the pants were sucking up the moisture from the snow, and my knees and legs were getting pretty cold pretty quick, man. They only do so good so fast. They're so long.
Major shrinkage.
Oh, God, that's the worst feeling ever, I tell you. Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my week in a nutshell, and I think just the time itself, being up at like 5:30 in the morning to shovel snow and get up to go to a tournament outside of normal city grounds is just finally catching up, so... But that's what energy drinks are for later on. Help me get me through the day. Or the week. Less than sleep, so... Yeah. What about you? I hear, hopefully you're getting better from your cold? Or whatever you were having?
Well, for the most part, I don't know. It's kind of going away super slowly. I still have some pressure issues, but nothing like it was. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. The kids were both up, and... Yeah.
Are they coming down with something, too? Or they
Cora,
just stayed up?
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're coming down. Or, well, the youngest is coming down with something, but I don't think it ever left. Do you know that makes sense?
It makes sense.
It's kind of like what I have, just less severity. I don't know. But yeah, so they didn't sleep last night, so I didn't sleep very well. This past week was kind of rocky. Going through a bit of a personal stuff again. It's crazy. This process of self-improvement is just up and down, ebb and flow. And then I need to work on my triggers too, because I got triggered Wednesday again. I don't know what it is with Wednesdays and after a new moon. I don't know. It's crazy.
Did we actually have a new moon this Wednesday or something?
Yeah. Well, it was either Tuesday or whatever, but
I don't know. Let's find out. I'm curious. Actually, I don't even know if I can tell now that it's past the day.
But there was a bunch of stuff that kind of just fell over at work like dominoes, and it led to a management requested meeting. So that's coming up this week. Don't know what to expect. Hopefully it's... Well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah. I can't be negative about it. Positivity. Positive.
That is positivity to me. Dude, what the heck is a word? Oh my gosh. So just kind of randomly here, okay? You talked about you don't know what is up with a new moon, but we had a new moon back on Monday. Okay?
Okay, so the first Wednesday after the new moon, yeah.
So the first Wednesday, which would have been the 22nd here. But coming to March 7th, as we're fast approaching the end of April or February here, and next week is going to be the first full week of March. Tuesday, March 7th is a full moon.
Yep.
But here it's labeled as a worm moon, and it's actually really weird. Moon. Yeah. Here, let me just share quick. This is really weird. But it looks... I don't know why they call it a worm moon, but it looks like it's supposed to be shaded on the outside, like maybe like a partially new moon, and then a full moon in the middle. So it looks like a little...
Interesting.
As bad as it sounds, it looks like it's a little ringworm.
Yeah.
But ringworm is a fungus, guys. It's, a skin fungus. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. Not bad, but it's manageable. It's treatable. I've been there, done that. But yeah. So what about the rest of your week?
Yeah, so besides the triggering, no matter what happens or how much I think I'm progressing into this positive, more fun-filled self, it just takes one small thing to just bring me back, which is very annoying. But Whatever. Yeah, so that snowstorm. Yikes. We got 8.5 inches. Not fun.
Nope.
And then we have a mouse issue in our bedroom wall. Called somebody.
A couple cats.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about putting a snake in the wall?
A snake in the wall? I don't need more things in the wall. I need nothing in the wall.
No, the snake would go in the wall, eat the mouse or the mice or whatever you have, and then come out.
Oh.
Well, kind of.
Well, then I need to get a snake.
Kind of. I don't know if it necessarily would always come out, though. That's the big problem. I don't want to cause issues. I've seen a video of it happen before where they feed a snake into a hole in the wall. They go get the mice. Like, they plug up, like, all the possible holes or exits the mice can come out of, and the snake will just eat them up.
Well, that's an option, but we just called a local pest control company, and he looked around the.
Did you take care of it?
No, he looked around the house. He didn't find any sign of mice anywhere. So great. He just stuck a trap up in the attic above our bedroom, and it's not been touched. I just looked at it before I came online here. And, so I'm convinced now that it's coming in by the electrical outlet outside.
You should be really careful about that, then.
I know.
All the wiring. That's all.
I heard it 2 nights ago, and he came on like Tuesday or something like that. So it's definitely still in there.
Doesn't sound like you put. It doesn't sound like you put many mouse traps down then.
Well, because he assumed that it was coming in the attic and fell down or is traveling down into the wall that way. But if there's no evidence of them in the attic, why would you put a trap in? Whatever, I'm going to call him this next week and explain what I think is because I'm the pest control expert. And,
you're doing your job, and apparently it's time for you to do his job.
Yeah.
Do a better job than he can.
So Kane had another tournament?
Yeah, he took third.
Tell me about how you handle all, because he has, how many sports does he do? What is it?
Oh God, he's jumped around. So originally he was in karate, and I call that a sport/activity because it's something he did about twice a week, where we had to go after school basically, for probably around 6:30ish from previous times. Okay, and he was in karate before COVID had struck. Once COVID had struck, there was still the opportunity to do it at home, but we opted not to because we don't have room in our house for him to watch his instructor on TV, and if they use weapons such as a bow staff, he's gonna, as much as you can have control of it, I'm still worried that the bow staff, he's gonna swing it out and it's gonna hit my TV.
Right. Right.
And granted, if I were to move my couch, mind you, it's a 7-piece couch, so taking it apart and putting it back together is no fun task.
No.
It's just not ideal. Even in his room, it wouldn't be ideal either, because his brothers would see him do it and whatnot, and they would want to get into it, or they wouldn't respect the space, and then all of a sudden he's hitting them and whatnot. Not like I'm going to ever let my son use his weapons, because, bow staff, nunchuck, a short stick, some of those other tools he would use. Like they changed. Nunchuck.
What about that bamboo stick thing?
That's the bow staff. The long staff.
Bow
is the bow staff. Yeah, but he would use it, but he would have to get permission first. Like he'd have to say, "Mom or Dad, permission to use my weapon." And we wouldn't allow him to use it if he wasn't holding it properly at first. So if you don't show self-control and hold it how you're supposed to hold it when you're asking for permission, you don't get the answer you want until you do correct yourself. that was something, the sense of discipline, training to become disciplined in that way. And again, he stopped going to that back in just around COVID time. He did play soccer for a bit. He's done track and field like once last year, and then he got into wrestling. And these are all most of everything has been on his own accord, his own choosing. I don't necessarily know how he got into wrestling at all. Soccer was kind of a small influence from a sibling. Karate was kind of like, okay, that was going to be something Mom and him did together on the same days or whatever. Change of plans when Mom gets pregnant. It makes it harder for her to do anything.
Yeah.
So she stopped, obviously stopped doing karate and just never got back into it. And yeah, so again, most of the sports activities have been kind of up to him and continuing if he wants to continue on or whatnot. But hopefully, he does actually stick with wrestling or finds his niche of what sport he wants to do. I think because it's very healthy for a child to get into it or get into some sort of niche, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily have to be wrestling. If he finds basketball or football to be his niche, awesome. Let's focus on doing that. Or even if he wants to do track and some sort of running, because he is a pretty quick kid. Goddamn, he's running. I don't know how fast he's necessarily running, but he's got the energy and he's got somewhat maybe of a leg strength to actually keep himself going. So pretty quick. But wrestling, I never wrestled. I guess the only type of wrestling I ever did was with my uncle. And, that was him just kind of showing me some moves and, obviously he's not going full out, but he's showing me moves and whatnot. So that's the only type of wrestling I've ever experienced. I didn't have siblings.
Does Kane really like wrestling?
From what I've seen, I mean, taking him to practice, he's actually, I would say he's probably one of the kids that really does focus on in practice. But they do teach you, right? Whatever you put towards practice is how you would put, or work or play, not play, but how you would work during tournaments, right? So if you're you're half-assing your practices, you're gonna half-ass your actual tournament meet or your matches, right? Because you're not giving it your all. You're not practicing the way you should be practicing, or to somebody else's standards, which that's a whole nother topic. I swear, standards for how people. I mean, maybe it's more or less parents live vicariously through people nowadays, or try to. But yeah, no. So Kane has gotten into wrestling on his own. Obviously, supporting is huge. So, but his tournament, coming in third this weekend, pretty good for him for being a first time going up against a hell of a lot more of experienced kids. And
I'd say,
oh God, I'm learning something new every single day when it comes to the wrestling tournaments and the website that they have to actually track the tournaments and kids' stats. I didn't know you could actually click on the kid's name and find out how many pins they had, how many points, so they have pins, which is when you do pin somebody to the ground.
Right.
Then they have this thing called tech, or it's kind of just have it winning by a spread of points at one point. But then they have a thing called major or major decisions, which is winning by 15 plus points. It's like a mercy rule at that point.
Right.
So it was, it's very interesting and whatnot to see that happen. And looking at the kids that Kane was going up against today, I don't think these kids are necessarily beginners. And he's a beginner.
You think they're ringers?
I do think they're sandbagging tournaments, yes.
Oh, boy.
I think Mommy and Daddy put them in the beginners to make them feel good. But then again, I also sometimes I think the tournaments are a little lackluster in a sense too. They put these kids that, you know, and losing is a great way to get experience. Okay, mind you, they are. He only has 2 other people in his bracket because he's only
That's 50.
It? He's only 53, 54 pounds.
What?
For a 4th grader, mind you.
Jeez.
So finding other kids that are the same age as him and same weight is not necessarily easy.
No.
So this tournament and last tournament, only 3 kids, and he's coming 3rd. I have no problem with that coming in 3rd and getting the experience and him having fun. That is what a sport should be about. A kid being able to have fun. So, I mean, he's been pretty active. I give him credit for it. And this is the first time, again, this is the first time he's done wrestling. And it's very, you know, it's only like a winter into spring kind of sport. But we're going, he wants to do a club. So he's going to join a wrestling club, which is going to, and the wrestling club's going to be like all year round or something like that. And it's like $13 a session. So, and he goes like, he'd be going like twice a week. So that's $26 a week, $325 for the entire year or something like that. $325 for 12 weeks, basically. Which is not bad, if you think of it, like $13 a session. So, and hopefully, you know, this will help him learn more techniques and ways to better himself as well. So, looking forward to it. And he's looking forward to it as well. I think this is probably going to be the one thing he's very committed to, in a sense. And when I say he enjoys it, yeah.
Good. That's good. Then, so he's done a few other things in the past. Does it show interest in anything else at the moment? Would you let him do another thing on top of wrestling?
Depending. And I say it depends because he's wanted to try to do multiple things at one time. But when it comes to fitting in the schedule, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
Let's say he wanted to do karate again, okay? So, karate, he would have to go on, like, Tuesdays and Wednesdays if he continued to do wrestling. Because, all depending on how the schedule works out. Let's say he has practice for wrestling on Mondays and Thursdays, like he does now. Karate for him, he'd have to go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But it doesn't always work out that way because they, believe it or not, kind of have some set schedules on when they go through karate and whatnot. So like he was going twice a week for lessons, and those were usually every other day. So Tuesday or Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. But it is also depending on his age. So when he was in like the little kids class, or the Toras, as they were called, I think he was on like Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays were other kids, like bigger kids and whatnot. But it all depends. So it changed as he got older too and got out of the Tora kids. He went to like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So,
okay.
But yeah, conflicting schedules is very difficult because I don't want a kid to choose which one he has to go to if he's got wrestling and karate on Thursdays. Okay, which one do you go to? You're going to tire yourself out.
Right.
I think right now I would be against him trying to do multiple things at once due to conflicting possibility of having conflicting schedules. But then I'd rather him still try to find a niche for himself rather than... And I know sometimes you can find your niche when you do multiple, but at the same time, if you enjoy doing both, then what? Not to mention, they're not always cheap either. Like,
No.
karate was hell of expensive in a sense. You had to get the gear. You had to pay for like your yearly subscription in a sense to the class, or to be a student. You had to, I guess, purchasing your gear that includes your weapons, your gloves, helmet, your uniform, your boots for if you did like spar. Because as you got older, the older class would start sparring with each other. So it was just one of those things. And if you were practicing with just like punching certain things too, you don't want to use your fist. They want you to practice with gloves, or they want you to practice kicking with the boots. Especially when you're kicking like a bag, a friggin' sandbag. They don't want you hurting yourself.
Right.
So, yeah, but I mean, again, soccer. He was into it, and then he kind of fell out of it. So he had the interest, and then he lost it. Track. He said he didn't want to do it again because he didn't realize he'd have to run around the full track.
Yeah.
Like the event he signed up for, I think he had to run around the track 4 times. He didn't.
It's a mile.
He thought he was only going to have to run once. Nah, you had to do it 4 times. So he learned pretty quick because it was like a 1,600 meter, 1,600 meter or something. So I don't remember how big the track is. I think half a mile is 800 meters, so that's twice around the track.
Yeah,
So.
the track is 400 meters all around.
Yep.
Half is 200, so 1,600 would be the 4 times around.
Yeah, so he had to do 1,600. Like I think he signed himself up for it, and he didn't realize that. He kind of regretted it. But I think he had fun. He normally does enjoy the things he signs up for or wants to do. It's just then all of a sudden after, maybe he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. I learned my lesson, but I don't want to deter him from actually doing that sport again. Like,
Right.
It is what it is, though. What about you? I know with the girls, they're still a little young. Have they shown interest in any activities?
Natalie asked him about gymnastics, or mainly Eleanor about gymnastics. She doesn't know what that is, I don't think, so since we did join the Y, we will be definitely looking into some things, maybe to see if something sparks her interest.
Nice.
But Antonio did soccer for one season, a fall season, and I think he showed genuine interest in it to begin with, until he realized that, oh wait, I have to do bi-weekly practices, or 2 practices a week, and practices means doing drills and practicing handling the ball and doing, because unfortunately he really just wanted to be a goalie. And the coach just isn't going to say, all right, you're the goalie. Doesn't quite work like that. So I think he lost interest pretty quick, unfortunately. But he gave it a shot. He did it. He played some games.
How long ago was that he was in soccer?
That was 2019. That was pre-pandemic.
Okay. So, I mean, it's still possible, but at the same time, that's kind of, to me at least, that's kind of where you start finding people's like niche position within the sport. Because remember, how old is he again?
He is 13 now, so he would have been around 10.
Okay, so maybe not. Still trying to test everybody out. But after a certain time too, like once you hit like 13 and up or whatever, that's where you start finding people's niche positions where they're really good, like whether it be forward or defender or midfield or even goalie keeper. I was a keeper. I was the goalie for a lot of my teams. I was fortunately trained by a semi-pro for a little bit. He came to he came to one of my practices a while back. I don't remember how old I was, but he worked with myself and another kid for keeper, and we got some good use out of it. So, granted, semi-pro, right? But still, it was a nice experience. He had the time to take with us rather than working on everybody else. So we got some just extra work there. And that was a position I really enjoyed. Now, granted, I may have been the keeper the entire time or for half the game or whatnot, all depending. Like, granted, so my dad was a coach for a majority of my rec leagues that I played in. And he, obviously he didn't favor me, right? He's not like, okay, Justin, you're going to be keeper every single time. Go, go, go. But he tried to be fair, and if anybody else wanted to play keeper or goalie, they would get that chance, right? But then there are times like some of my friends, they wanted to play, but they only wanted to play during practice.
Oh.
So they didn't necessarily want to play during the real game, and they wanted to leave that up to me. They just wanted to do it during practice, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to do it during the game. Don't practice it.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying you're taking away from myself or whoever wants to do it, but at the same, you kind of are. So you really are taking. You're not using the skills that you should be developing when you're sitting in the back trying to block the ball from going in the net.
Right.
But it is what it is. I would love to go back into soccer or some sport myself, but it's just too late. Too many kids to take on. But yeah, so you talked about the gym or the Y, and that's gonna open up many opportunities for you. Okay, and I think that's great. Again, I kind of recommend just being careful, because yes, you have 2 kids, and if they both want to do an activity and they don't fall at the same time, but yet they fall on the same day, how would you handle that? How would you, as dad, and this actually goes out for Natalie as well, would you take both of them at the same time and then have one sit out? Or would you just be like, okay, I'll show up later with the other child?
We'd split.
You'd split it?
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure we'd split. So Natalie would take one girl, I would take the other girl, and then maybe switch it up the next week.
Okay. Interesting. What if they're... so what if they were in the same spot? Like, same facility, and at the, same sport. So let's say they were both in gymnastics, but Eleanor's gymnastic class was later, and Cora's was right away. So let's say 5 o'clock was Cora's gymnastics. That went for an hour. Then Eleanor's was at 6:30. Would you just stick with Natalie takes them that week, and then you take them the next week? Or would you guys all go together?
Well, we'd all go together, until we needed to split off.
Okay. Yeah, it's just tricky. So we're kind of fortunate. We have assistants with taking like Kane to wrestling and everything, since he's the only one that showed any interest in sports and whatnot.
So far,
yes. His grandma usually has helped get him to like soccer practice and games, and karate back then. Just because when I was, busy with other kids, like I can't necessarily bring them all or haul them all to like the facility at the same time, or I could and just show up a little later, versus when he needed to actually be there. So it all depends too. Like if Sam was home, she may go with Kane or take him, and then I would show up later. But yeah, things change, that's for sure. So it all just depends on how we can make the schedule work, or basically who's available. Right now, having Sam home has kind of been nice, where it allowed me to go to wrestling with Kane for a little bit, if he wants me there or not. So yeah, We'll see. It'll probably become more of a challenge as Arlo and Nico, if anything, or Eleanor wants to do sports or something. I think by the time Eleanor is in sports though, or shows interest, Kane will be able to do his own thing.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. But how many activities would you let them do? Or what do you? Okay, not. I mean, that's an important thing. But how many activities do you think a child should do at one time?
I guess it all depends on the schedule of the sports that are in question. I really, really discourage overextending yourself, especially if the grades are starting to slip. I'm going to say you need to cancel one, if not everything, and focus on getting your grades back up, honestly. Unless you can figure out something, we can work together on something to have another time set aside for homework or NEAT or whatever. But if your schoolwork is... I'm a big believer in putting schoolwork first.
Scholar.
And sports and activities second. So they can do as much as they want as long as their ride is available. Or maybe grandma and grandpa could have a ride or be a ride as well. And then also as long as their schoolwork is staying positive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you?
So, I mean, sounds like we're talking here way out in the future once grades do become... I mean, granted, grades are always a huge thing, but like in elementary school, it's like you're not getting an A+, and that's, here's your GPA of a 4.0. I mean, you're still...
Yeah, I was thinking more towards high school and middle school, honestly.
Yeah, middle school and high school, there is that standard where sports do come second. If your grades start slipping, you will not play. You will not practice, you will not play. Like, I think if you have anything lower than a C or whatever it is, or like a C-, so once you hit the Ds, yeah, you can't play until you get those grades back up. Now, that is by school standards. By a parent standards, I would definitely change that. Because you got to work hard before you can play hard. And that's what I believe in. That's kind of what I was brought up on as well, is work hard, play hard.
Right.
And it's not just like my parents drilled that into me, but like other people have drilled that into me too. Like even when I started working at McDonald's, like, well, in order to do something else, you got to kind of work harder for it first. Show me that you can do this before you can really do something else. So work hard and achieve what you need to achieve before you get rewarded for it. But yeah, so being more of a scholar before an athlete is very, up there. Now, when you come to a college level, all right, or high school / college level, I think it does change. All depending on your... I mean, if you're going to play, if you're going to go play sports in college, and you're trying to go for a D1 school, and you're trying to get a full ride on your sport, actually, it doesn't change anything. Studies are still important. Even if you want to play D1 football or D1 soccer or whatever it is, whatever sport you want to play D1 for, and you're trying to get a full ride for it, studies will still take over. Because guess what? Your grades still matter. I think even in the college world, if you are falling behind, you could lose your full ride.
Yep. Yes, you can.
I'm pretty
I
sure
remember I knew a guy from Sheboygan that he got it. He was in a D1 school. He was in Madison, and I don't know if anybody who knows this, but I always thought that because he did get an offer for the NBA before he graduated, and he took it. And at the time, it was like, why wouldn't you finish, your degree? And I was like, wait a minute. You're getting millions of dollars like now thinking back, it's like, damn, I would have done the same.
School
I would, because
done.
you can go back and get your degree anytime, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, the NBA also has made a requirement too. You have to play a year of college ball first, or something of that nature.
Yep.
You can't just be like, okay, because they used to be like you play high school and then you could be good enough to go into the NBA. No, they want you now to have
Really?
college. That it used to be that way, where if if you were good. Now they want you to go to college for a year, play ball there for a year, and then you can be drafted in the NBA.
Okay.
I mean, certain people, I think. Nope, I can't. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to be wrong. But I remember having conversations about it before. That it wasn't necessarily something the NCAA was strong about or had hands in, and then NBA and NCAA probably came together and said, "Nope. If you want to get drafted in the NBA, you need to play your college ball first." So,
Okay.
yeah. All right. How? So, kind of nailing that down. One activity I think is going to be good, but studies and everything should come first. Or as you know, if you're going to try to do multiples, you're going to want to maybe just try to find your niche. That's what I say. Try to find your niche. Don't overbook yourself, where you're not going to be able to enjoy all your time, like with other extracurricular activities or friends or whatnot. Do what's best for you, but don't burn yourself out doing it. Would you ever force a child into a sport or an activity?
No. Before I had this personal journey, I was really thinking about, okay, sidebar. I was a junior bowler. I bowled from the age of 6 or 7 until 18.
Nice.
And yeah, and it was a good time. I'm not a great bowler. I'm very average, and I'm not consistent at all, which is why I didn't pursue it after I was out of there. Well, that's a lie. I did it with my cousin at a local bowling alley for a season, and those seasons are long, from September until April.
Yeah.
So I didn't really enjoy it that much. But anyway, I was thinking about, hey, we should join the Elks Club, because I was at the Elks Lodge for bowling, junior bowling. We should join the Elks Club and have Antonio or the girls bowl. It's like, well, and now it's like, well, I don't really give a crap if they do it or not. And So
right.
Am I going to force them to do anything that I wanted to do as a kid? Hell no.
No, so you're not going to try to...
Because I'm not going to force them to like anything that I liked as a kid.
I mean, so you wouldn't force them into doing the sport, right? You wouldn't go... I mean,
No.
you could go to the Elks Club, maybe get a membership or whatever, and see if they want to do it. Or do it as like we're going to go here just today, or like every now and then, and spend some time here bowling together as a family.
Right.
Kind of like making it a family outing or something. But you're not going to be like, all right, Dad wants you to relive his glory days and go do this for him so he can live vicariously through you and hopefully do better than he did. No.
Not going to do that.
I am very much in the same shoes with you. I would never force a child into doing a sport they don't want to do. Now, I would try to get them to try it. Now, granted, I know school has like those activities where they, or like units where they do soccer for a little bit, or like a couple weeks at a time, or basketball or whatnot, which they get exposure to it. But I would like them to have more of an exposure of, okay, you're going to go to practice, you're going to have your games, and see how that turns out for them. That is bigger. I'm not going to be like, okay, well, you don't like the sport, you're going to keep going into it because I want you to do it. This is what I did, I enjoy it, and I want to live through you. If you're going to do that, honestly, parents, if you are going to force them into a sport, that's poor. I am strong at that. I will stand by that decision that it is poor. I do not care what you say. If you're going to force a child into a sport because you want to live vicariously through them and relive your glory days, you're going to make them resent the sport.
And you. Sometimes. If it goes terribly.
Yeah. If they're not winning a game, and it's all because you kept forcing it on them to try to go into it, and they're not very good at it because it's something they don't want to do and they're not passionate about it, but you are, they're going to resent the sport, they're going to resent you for it, and it's going to make situations, or you're going to see situations arise. Because one of these days they're going to be like, I don't want to go, and you're going to try to force them to go. And
that's like me in church, honestly. But that's different anyway.
It's
different but the same. Why do people do this to their kids? Why?
Send us your reasoning behind it.
Yes.
I'm not going to argue with you. If you do this. If you are a parent that believes forcing a child into a sport is good for them, send me why. Send us why. Send it to leashdads14@gmail.com. I would love to hear your reasoning and your logic behind why you feel that it's necessary to force a kid into a sport that they may not want to do. But I want to see. Please, by all means, let us know. Not going to sway my mind. Just let me know. I want to get your understanding as to why you think it's right. But on that subject too, supporting. Where are you at when it comes to supporting your child? I mean, if they're going to do a sport that they want to do, I'm going to be all for it. And it may, if I may not be, if I'm not able to go to it, go to the practice or anything, I'm still going to encourage them to do well. If they want to come home and practice a move on me, excellent. I'm going to support it and work with them on it. I'm going to let them kind of guide me through it. It may not be support by showing up to an event, but it's support nonetheless. They're knowing that I'm going to work with them so they can show me something they learned. It's going to go the distance with them, knowing that my dad may not have been able to attend practice, but he's showing interest in what I am learning. He's showing interest in what I can do and use for my next match that I go into. So there are many ways to support your child in an activity or a sport. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be attending the event. Driving them to the practice. You're supporting them. You're not refusing to take them. Fundraisers. Okay? Huge thing, right? I was in band. I was in Boy Scouts. They had fundraisers. Boy Scouts had the popcorn. Going door to door, selling popcorn to people. Your neighbors. Fundraiser for band, very same thing. Had to go family, reach out to them, but they wouldn't come to me. I had to go to them with my fundraiser sheet and ask them.
Right.
They're not going to be like, oh, when are you doing your fundraiser? When are you doing your cheesecake fundraiser for band? I can let them know. But at the same time, I have to be the one that's going to go, would you like to buy? Now, granted, it was kind of a challenge when you have a sibling that was in band as well, and both of you are doing the fundraisers, so it's like maybe you split, have your family split or whatnot, or however you made it work. So yeah, I mean, maybe you pick and choose your friends that you go with as well. Like you let your sister or brother pick his friends and try to sell to their families. You sell to your family friends or whatnot, but then you have like neighbors. You maybe split it up and whatever, and then from there, split the family in ways you possibly can. So it's very interesting on how you can provide support. So I think the biggest thing though is having, maybe attending the event where your child, when he's looking around, or they're looking, I shouldn't say he, but like if she's looking around in the crowd, or, when you go with them to the event, right? They don't necessarily have to look in the crowd to see where you're at, because you drove them there. And if you're going to like a game or a tournament for them, you're probably going to be there all day. And just like we were all day for Kane's wrestling tournament. Practically, like 8 or like 7:45 to a little afternoon, or a little past 12. But yeah, I mean, support, guys. Huge. If you're not supporting your child, possibly bad parenting. I don't care if you don't like the sport. I don't. Your child likes it. Support their decision to do it.
That brings up,
strong opinion.
Like, because I hate basketball with a burning passion, but if my daughters wanted to do it, I would sit through every single game that they did. Honestly, even if they sat on the bench, I still would go just to support them.
Yeah, because you know what? One of those days, they're not going to be on the bench. They're going to be playing the game. I mean,
right.
It's a crappy feeling if you know your child is going to you see that your child's not actually playing the game, and you haven't seen them go in at all. It can be a crappy feeling. But guess what? You're not there for yourself. You're there for your child. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's really where the support comes in. Set your selfish needs aside. Take the time to go to the event. Please. For the longest time, I didn't find wrestling appealing. I kind of wish I would have done it now, at least given it a shot. Even though soccer was my niche sport, I wish I would have given wrestling a shot. Even if it is at a club. Maybe I can't. I don't know. I might be a little too old for it, but damn. Honestly,
I think you are a little too old and a little too rickety at this point.
A little too old, too rickety. Yeah, I know. I agree. But honestly, it is very interesting and fun to watch. Like, yes, I went to all my kids' matches and, during his tournament and everything. But when he wasn't up, I went and supported his other teammates as well. But then when they weren't up and he wasn't up, I went around and looked at other matches. Like, I went and saw other little kids wrestling. I went and saw, mid-sized kids, 6th graders wrestling, high schoolers wrestling. I went and saw some big boys wrestle. That is entertaining. Watching
I bet.
Watching people, I will say my weight, but it with muscle, pick each other up and slam each other down. That shit's entertaining, guys. Just watching that happen, I'm like, damn, I'm not fighting him. Nope, not fighting him.
Yeah, I can just see you going to a freaking cage match and 2 years from now, it's like, go get him.
Yeah, no, guys, it's just funny. Supporting is so huge. It'll make a kid's day if you support them. Hell, honestly, bringing other family members also is a great way to show support.
Oh yeah, always.
His grandma showed up. We picked her up and brought her along. But she will that's her way of showing a huge amount of support as well. She wants to support her grandchildren. And Kane's face just lit up today. He had probably the biggest smile because my aunt and uncle were in town for a show yesterday, and they came to see him wrestle today.
Wow.
Yeah. So his face lit up when they saw him. He didn't know they were coming. He did not know they were going to be there.
That's great.
So it was, letting them know, and he's going to have some more support next weekend because we've got our final tournament here in Appleton North. I'm not going to be afraid to say it because, it'll be fun to watch. But he's going to have a crap ton of people there to support him. So it's going to be fun. I think support is the biggest thing, especially when you know your child's going to enjoy what they're doing. So, support their passion. It'll develop a stronger bond with your child if you're worried about bonding and having a relationship. Do something they enjoy. Don't just blow them off. Because guess what? The cat's in the cradle of the silver spoon, little boy man, blah blah blah, right? What's that song about? The dad blew his son off. Then all of a sudden the dad had plenty of time and his son's like, nah, I can't, Dad, I'm busy with the kids. One kid's sick, blah blah blah, one kid's doing something else. Dad had an epiphany. My son grew up just like me. Because I blew him off and now he's blowing me off.
When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when. We'll get together then.
Have a good time then.
Yep.
Yeah. Epiphany. My son became just like me. Had no time for me when I wanted to see him. It was nice talking to you, Dad. But I'm a little busy.
Right.
Support your kids. It's huge.
Agreed.
Yeah. Again, let's recap this here quick. Let your kids do the activities they want to do. Help them find their niche. If they have a niche. If they want to just keep doing different sports, fine. I would say don't let them burn out, though. Just maybe guide them to the idea not to burn out. Especially when you know it can be stressful, because all of a sudden if you are their ride, right? You as a parent are going to burn out as probably quicker because you're going to be driving them or carting them to and from places. You'll burn out faster than they probably will. However, you don't want them to feel pressure into all these other sports as well, or have to make a decision when it comes to it, because let's say you have practices on Monday, Wednesday for a sport, Tuesday, Thursday for another sport, Saturday's game day. Well, guess what? Saturday's game day for both of them. Now what? Do you make them pick? How do you make them pick which sport to go play for? Especially when they're at the same time. You can't.
No.
You shouldn't. That is I would say, a difficult decision, though, of how they pick it. I just make sure schedules, if anything, don't cross. But that can be very difficult to do. So, just keep an eye on that. Make sure, talk to them as well, find out what they like or are passionate about and what they're not so passionate about, or see if things do change over the course of their experiences with the sport. I would say there is never... The minimum length for a sport should be an entire season. You need to make sure they are doing the sport for an entire season before they decide to continue or discontinue.
Agreed. Right.
That will give them plenty of time to go through enough practices, enough tournaments, if anything, or, competitive play to decide if they really truly like it or not. As for a maximum, if they want to stop after the season, fine. Let them find a new sport or an activity. Also, guys, again, encourage your children to do activities. It's going to be a great way. I mean, if you've seen it, this is kind of a huge thing throughout the States, as I'm sure you're aware. Obesity, right? If we encourage our children to do sports and activities, get out and play 60 minutes a day, whatever it may be. You've seen those if you watch other sports. Like if you watch the National Football League or the NFL, 60 minutes a day. They have pro players doing those random commercials. It's huge. But on top of that, support. Support your children. That's what I got. What about you, Jared? What are you going to take away from this tonight?
Well, mainly support your kids in whatever their interests are. Chess team, sports, whatever. And don't force them to believe or like something. Talk to your kids. If they don't like something and they tell you that, that's it. You can explain your reasonings why you like it, but don't continue to either bring them to that event or make them do it because you want them to do it. Please, we are humans with free will. Let's exercise that with our kids. Please.
Let them know.
Yeah. So let's keep on supporting our kids, and hopefully my daughters will find a sport they like, and they don't follow in their dad's footsteps and just bowl.
There's nothing wrong with bowling. I've seen competitive bowling out there before. Some things are somewhat boring, but that's just personal opinion. So, hey,
it's fun.
It can be. If you like to joke around and mess around, sure. But speaking of jokes, guys, I have a few tonight. I want to share these, and they are sport related. So, if you haven't taken a guess or a stab at it now, or realized a pattern, I've started making them more theme related towards each podcast. So, I do have a list, but I'm not going to go through them all. This is kind of funny to me. Why can't basketball players go on vacation? They aren't allowed to travel.
Yeah. No, they're not.
Nope. What do you call a football player with long legs who builds houses? A carpenter.
A car punter. Oh, a carpenter, yeah.
Here. Which fast food chain is most likely to win a basketball tournament?
McDunkles? I don't know.
Dunkin' Donuts!
Oh, okay.
Dunkin' Donuts!
I don't consider... That's not really a fast food. That's a quick breakfast.
That's kind of fast food there.
I guess.
All right, this one is kind of more like a riddle. Honestly, what's harder to catch the faster you run?
A cold.
Your breath.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's,
Your breath is harder to catch the faster you run. So, yeah, those are the ones I wanted to share tonight. I do have some more, but I think those were definitely the ones to take the cake here. Guys, as usual, thank you very much for your ever so much support. We appreciate it. Thank you for all the listening via TikTok, iPod, or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever form you are listening to us on. Much appreciated. Hey, we will see you certainly next week. And Jared, as usual, thanks for being the amazing constant co-host. Take care, guys.
Anytime.